All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, this is Brandon with Matchware. We're still a couple of minutes from starting here. I just want to let everybody know that I'm probably going to start, maybe 4 or 5 minutes after the time to get people able to log in here. So just give it a second, and I'll start it up. So the attendees that are here, I'm going to make sure everybody can hear me all right. You guys are actually on mute because there's going to be quite a few people joining us. So to ask questions, there is a little hand raise button in the GoToWebinar dialog box. Those that are here, can you go ahead and click that hand raise button? That way I know that you can hear me. All right, perfect, cool. So I know my audio is working okay. Also, and I'll repeat this in a couple of minutes when people start logging in that GoToWebinar dialog box, there's a slot for questions. Please feel free to interrupt me and ask me any questions as we're moving along here. So I see a couple more people logging in. This is Brandon with Matchware. I'll be hosting the training and webinar tonight. Those that are just logging in, I'm going to start the webinar here in a couple minutes, probably 3 or 4 minutes after the scheduled time, just to get people logged in and settled in. So we're not quite started, but we're getting close. There was a question, and I mentioned for those that are just logging in, there in the GoToWebinar dialog box, there's a question section, so you can ask questions, and I'll monitor them and answer them as we go. There was a question: is there an in-person location? I'm not exactly sure how to answer that one. I know Krista has been messaging me back and forth, and she is setting up a room in the DRS. So that might answer that question. You can always elaborate and send me another question through the question box. Yeah, and just so you know, I'm going to be taking you through this webinar. Everybody that's attending here, but there are licenses available for this. Krista wanted me to let everyone know that if you go through this webinar and you see it's going to be helpful for you, I think it's fair to say go to Krista and talk to her about a license, because she mentioned there's about 40 licenses left. So there's plenty for everyone to use it. She'll also send out an email when this is over, because I'm actually recording it. So she'll send an email with the recording as well. So I think there's quite a few people logged in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start. Just to kind of go over, I'm Brandon with Matchware. Matchware is the company. MindView is the software. Matchware has been around for 25. Matchware has been around for 25 years or so. We make all kinds of different pieces of software. But this particular piece of software is MindView, and it's based on mind mapping. Mind mapping is just a really kind of organic way to plan and brainstorm. And what we've done is we've turned this into a reading and writing tool. So it allows you to brainstorm your essay and then export it over to Word in any kind of academic format, which I'm going to run through in just a second. But let me do a little bit of housekeeping for those that have logged in a little bit later. So everybody's on mute. There's a questions box in the dialog box of the GoToWebinar. So feel free to ask questions throughout this. I can actually get through this meeting or this webinar in about 30 minutes or so. But I think we spaced it for an hour, so you guys have plenty of time to grill me with questions, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. The GoToWebinar, there's a big box that's going to cloud part of your screen. But up here in the top right-hand corner, there's going to be a little orange arrow. And if you click that orange arrow, it's going to collapse the box so you can see my full screen. Now again, if you guys have any questions, you guys are all muted because there's a lot of us. So just go to that questions box and ask me a question there. And I'm going to pause every so often, and I'll look at those questions. So cool. So I'm going to jump right into it. Basically, what's on your screen is the start of the screen. So we're gold partners with Microsoft. So what that means is we adopted their look and feel. So, this is not like another tool where you have to learn a whole new interface. It should be very familiar to you, as if you were using a Word document, a Word program, a PowerPoint program, and the shortcuts are the same as well. So what I'm going to show you today is a writing assignment based on the point of view of a student. So what I'm going to do is, let's say this assignment's writing assignments based on famous authors. So we've optimized this to have features in it that help students that have learning disabilities. And a lot of times, you get an assignment and the professor or the teacher wants you to write an outline first. Well, what do we all do? We just open up that Word document and start typing. And like the teacher says, it eliminates the structure of it. But the problem with that also is, I remember when I was in school, I would get what they referred to as blank page syndrome. So literally, I'd open up that Word document and I'd sit there and stare at it. It's really hard to brainstorm in a linear fashion. So this software is based on mind mapping, and mind mapping allows you to brainstorm in a nonlinear fashion, kind of organically or radially. So when I'm thinking of famous authors, what am I thinking of? Well, let's talk about Hemingway, Joyce, maybe Austen, and Dickens. And then maybe some sub-branches, maybe early years and famous works. And I mentioned it was just like a Word document as far as shortcuts or Office program. So I'm going to do Control-C, Control-V, Control-V, Control-V. So what I'm doing here is I'm outlining that document, and I'm going to kind of keep pointing out to this throughout, is that these are actually making the chapters and subchapters. Now, a lot of time, students that we work with have learning disabilities. They have a hard time sequencing data. So what we've done is we've put a numbering scheme in here, and basically you can see the order of this Word document. So eventually when I export this over to Word, Hemingway is going to be first, and then just going to work ourselves around clockwise. So maybe we don't like the order to this. Maybe we want put it in chronological order, for example. So all I'm going to do is left click, move Austen over here, move Hemingway over here. I think Dickens is next. Yep, and then maybe Joyce. So all of this can be dragged and dropped wherever you want. So another thing that I like to point out is that a lot of students with dyslexia have a trouble with a white background. So in the software, you can actually select your own page color. And even in the desktop application, this is the online version, so it can be accessed anywhere on a tablet, Mac, Windows, wherever you want. You can even pick your RGB number if you wanted to. Okay, so now that we've got everything outlined here, let's start adding some content to it. And there's a few different ways to add content. There's a few different ways I define it. One is we can start expanding or typing notes, expanding these paragraphs. So I'm going to open up this text note editor. This has the same functionality as you would find in Word. So let's say and once I close that, you get a nice little paper clip indicating something's attached there. And again, this is going to be the main chapter. These are going to be the subchapters. Anything in the text note is going to be put in the paragraphs under those chapters. Now, there's a whole theory of mind mapping, which is the structure you guys see on your screen. I'm not going to get into that theory. It's rather boring, but there's a couple highlights to it. One of the highlights is that if you can add extra visual stimulus, it's going to help your memory retention. And a lot of students that have some learning disabilities struggle with memory. So what I can do is just go to our multimedia catalog. And there's a ton of clip art in here, and it's all royalty free. So I'm going to type in Austen, find a picture of her, drag and drop, and it puts a picture of Austin on the screen here. Also, if you've done some research before and you want to pull in pictures from another source, whether they've been saved on your desktop or your a thumb drive or anywhere, you can insert those pictures as well. So I'm going to go to Insert, Attachment, and I'm just going to upload. So here's a picture of Ernest Hemingway, and click on Upload. And it's going to attach, here's a picture, or I can attach it as a branch picture as well, just like I did with Austin. So again, I'll attach it again and upload. So there's a couple ways to attach documents to this map itself. One thing I would like to note, this works perfectly with screen readers such as JAWS. All of our pictures, all the alt tags are correct. So if you're using JAWS, if it scans over it, especially with the pictures in our multimedia catalog, it's not going to scan over and just say graphic. It'll actually say Jane Austen. So I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to check the questions. You guys have any questions? That's just kind of the basics of starting this. Any questions with that so far? Cool. All right. So stay with me here because the cool stuff is upon us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bigger template here. So this is just a bigger version of what I was working on. Oh, I see we've got a question, so give me a second. The question was, which formats can you save with? Save the actual MindView file or the files that you're uploading? Yep. So both and either. Good question. So basically, you can upload any type of file to this map. I'm going to show you an example after this of how a student uses it for note-taking, and they attach all kinds of documents like Excel files, Word documents, PowerPoints. You can attach any type of file format to this structure and almost use it as a virtual notebook, get rid of everything else. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later. Yep, once you're done with the note-taking. Yeah, once you're done with the note-taking, I'm going to show you this in just a second. You can export it out to Word or PowerPoint, so you can save it in a Word or PowerPoint or a PDF or a picture as well, and I'll touch on all that as also. So cool. So this is the bigger version of what I was working on. So just so you can see in the text note editor here, you've got a more developed text under each topic. Obviously, the pictures are coming along as well. But a few things I want to point out here. One is that we're partners with TextHelp Read and Write Gold, and for their predictive text. Now, we chose TextHelp because they've got the best dictionary for homonyms and homophobes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the actual predictive text. Here we go. And I'm going to say there are 6 So self-explanatory with a predictive text. Obviously, students that struggle with dyslexia and they transpose words and transpose numbers, this is great because it predicts it for them. And again, we use text help for that. Now, buckle up, guys, because this is the coolest part of the software, the second coolest part. So there's a citation feature in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the text note editor and I'm going to take a quote from Oliver Twist. I'm going to say, please, sir. So there's a citation feature in here, and to cite a source, it's 2 easy steps. All you have to do is find the source, and then you have to cite it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the citation here. I'm going to go to Manage Sources because I want to find it. I'm just going to add that source. So this is powered by WorldCat. I don't know if you guys are familiar by WorldCat. You probably are. WorldCat is just basically, it's an online library with billions of sources. And you can search those sources by title, author, or ISBN number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Oliver Twist, and I'm going to search. So what you're going to find is all the selections for Oliver Twist. And it's got films, journals, books, whatever you're looking for. So I'm going to select one. There we go. And hit save. And I'm going to hit OK. So remember, that's step one. We found the source. Now what I want to do is I want to insert that citation. Here's that book. It was on page 22. And insert. And then it just cited that source. So I know what everybody's thinking. Well, that's great that it cites the source, but what academic format is it in? Is it an APA, MLA? What is it? Well, in MindView, it's without format. Well, let me show you how to change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Export. And you can also, I'm going to export to Word, but you can also export to Google Docs. You can make this a PDF if you wanted to, and you can also export as a picture. So I'm going to go to Word, scroll down here. Now you can select APA, Harvard, Chicago, MLA, whatever you want. I'm going to select MLA. Under the general settings, you can include the bibliography, you can include a table of contents if you wanted to. And let me explain this one more time. I'm going to go ahead and X this out. So what it's going to do is it's going to export following that numbering scheme. So Jane Austen's going to be first, and then it just rotates itself around clockwise. Any text we put in there is going to be under that topic. So let me pick that format again and hit OK. So give it just a second to export here. And it's taken just a second here. It is an online tool, so a lot of the speed of the export depends on export a little bit quicker. I'm Wi-Fi'd. I'm actually at my house. It's a little bit later. I'm on the East Coast here. So it took a little bit longer, but less than a minute. So let me show you how cool this is. Drum roll. Long drum roll. Here we go. Enable this content so you guys can see everything. Sorry, my computer's running a little bit slow. So here we are in Word. So it exported everything out. Now the coolest part about this is that it automatically generates this interactive table of contents for you. So if I click on Jane Austen, for example, remember Jane Austen was a main branch, early years was a sub branch, and then here is the notes in the text note editor. Now obviously in a university setting, I know that pictures are frowned upon exporting out, but you have the option to include or exclude them. So you don't have to bring them over. I wanted to bring them over just so you can see what they look like. So I'm going to scroll down here. Basically what you did is you outline the document in a cool, fun way in MindView, and then MindView set it up in that academic format. Here's that quote with my awesome typing. And then it cited it correctly in the right format. Let me scroll all the way down to the bottom because this is the coolest part. It automatically creates that bibliography for you as well. So I'll kind of pause there. Any questions about the Word export? Okay, just remember, if you have any questions, feel free to, I don't have to pause and ask, just shoot them or fire them away as I'm going through this. So let me show you another really cool aspect of this. So let's say we're in speech class, for example. We wrote the paper, now we need to make a presentation. So just like Word, we can export this out to PowerPoint. So I'm going to click on PowerPoint. Again, the formatting is awesome. It allows you to pick a template, pick Doodle. You can decide whatever you want in this template as well. And basically, you just hit OK, and it's going to follow that numbering scheme. What's also nice is this will create flashcards for you as well. So the PowerPoint, you could PDF them and use them as flashcards as well. And again, give it just a second. My computer's running a little bit slow, but we'll get there. Alrighty, I see a question, but let me explain this PowerPoint, and then I'll start asking or answering questions about the Office integration. So cool. So it just created a PowerPoint presentation for us. So I'm going to go to early years. Remember, early years was a main branch. This was a sub branch. There's the text. There's the picture. So the point here is if you use MindView as the planning and brainstorming portion of it, you can export it out to Microsoft Office, and you don't have to be an expert at Office to format it correctly. Cool. So I see a question here. So let me answer it. Yeah, so one of the questions is really, is there a limitation to how far out the branches go? The answer is no. You can make them, and I'll show you. You can make them as far as you want. We don't create a limitation within the software itself. They can go as far out as they want. These maps can get as big as they want. The papers and PowerPoint presentations can also get as big as they want. All right, cool. So let me show you another example. One of the other requests that we've got in the development of this software are students that have been diagnosed. Oh, and I got another question here. The other question is, are there any other options to sync with other citation management tools like Zotero? There's not. Now, you can always pull those citations into MindView. In developing MindView, the thought process is students with ADHD, if they have to go outside of the software or outside of Word, it's distracting. So what we wanted to do was build the citation and everything all in one in MindView. So you didn't have to, excuse me, leave the program to cite a source somewhere else. So they don't sync with another citation tool, but you can obviously pull those citations in because they're going to be recognized by WorldCat as well. Okay, cool. So yeah, so in developing the software, one of the things that we were being asked about were students that were diagnosed with executive function disorder. So executive function disorder, basically students struggle with planning, brainstorming, organizing, and visualizing. Exactly what MindView and the theory was built around, which is awesome. So I want to pull up this example. So this is an example of a student that was going through an accounting class. And this was built throughout the year. So every lecture that the student went to, they did lecture 1, they did the topics. They also attached all these files. So Introduction to Accounting, that was the syllabus. The PowerPoint was the actual slides that day. These 3 are text notes. So you can type the notes on the subjects. This was a hyperlink over to a website explaining what is accounting. And this was actually a sound file. So the student actually recorded the professor and then attached the sound file there. So my point in showing this is that this became a virtual notebook for the student. So basically, anything that was related to this class was here in this structure. So you're not jumping through a myriad of folders and subfolders. You're not trying to find notes on a piece of paper, old school, like me. Everything's here in one spot. So it almost becomes like a simplified content management system for you. Also, when you export this over to Word, all these attachments go to Word. So then you've got a nice study guide as well that you can share with a study group based on this accounting class. So it's a really cool tool for organizing and note-taking as well. I want to talk about one more thing, and then I'll be done. I'll open it up to questions. The other thing I wanted to touch on is that there's a collaboration aspect of this. So if you guys are working with tutors or working with someone in the writing center, you can actually share these files with each other, and you can work on the same file at the same time. You can also work on the same projects. If you have a class project, you can share it with a group of people. So you can collaborate with the same, or you can collaborate on the same file. So you've got your maps up here, and if I scroll down, here's all the maps I'm sharing with my colleagues as well, and your classmates. So that's basically the software in a nutshell. You know, obviously it's based around mind mapping, which is just a simple structure, but what we've tried to do is incorporate features that help students that have learning disabilities, and then giving that office integration lends it to a great productivity tool, and also with the organizational tool as well. So again, feel free to fire away with any questions. There's no right or wrong questions. If you're curious about anything, just let me know. One other thing while you guys are thinking, maybe type into questions. I mentioned in the beginning, this is all being recorded. So I'll send that recording to Krista. Also send a link over to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has about 40 tutorials on it. There's also tutorials on our website. The manual is a free download. And we actually do once a month training just like this to anybody that has the software. Sometimes I do it, sometimes other people in the company do it. It's different subjects, but it gives you a chance to refresh and it gives you a chance to answer or ask any questions that you might have as well. And again, I appreciate your guys' time. I hope you saw something that was pretty cool and that could be useful for you. But again, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll stay on here as long as you guys have questions. I'll kind of answer some of the questions that I get on a regular basis. What type of device does this work on? Does it work on a laptop? Does it work on a Mac? It works on any device, anywhere, as long as you have a connection because it's an online tool. The question is, can I purchase the program for home use? With the licenses that Krista has, you can access it anywhere. So if you get a license from Krista, you can work on it at school. You can work on it at home. All you have to do is go into the browser and log in. Actually, I'll show it to you. So if I type in MindView Online, well, it automatically logs me in, but you can see in the browser here, I can log in on any device anywhere. So definitely home use is part of it, anywhere you want. There was another question. I attend UW in Tacoma. I'm wondering how to get a license and how much one is. Definitely get a hold of Krista. She mentioned in the beginning that she's got several licenses left, what they purchased. So definitely touch base with her. I will say if you look online, the software that I just showed you is $120 per user per year. We give a insane discount to education, and Krista bought under that insane discount. So, like I said, she mentioned that she has licenses, so definitely touch base with her. She'd be happy to help you out. The other question is there an offline function? There is. There's actually a desktop application. So the desktop application comes in Windows and Mac. We've been developing that for the last 15 years, and quite honestly, it's pretty powerful software. This one's cool. The desktop is crazy cool. The reason we like to show the online version is because it is accessed anywhere and not just loaded on your laptop. But there is a desktop application available. And it's got a lot more assistive features. It's got a timeline for task management built in. It's got a few more Office exports. So that would be the offline function. Within MindView Online, it's always going to be online. The other question is, can you sync the desktop version to the online account? Yes, you can definitely share files back and forth between both of them. They're fully compatible with each other. In fact, what a lot of schools will do is they'll have the desktop in their lab license or as a lab, so students can use a little bit more of the bigger functionality and then use the online version for home use. There was a comment. I'm glad to hear that. There was a comment that it looks helpful and great for the learning style. So that's good. And also in the, I kind of refer to the desktop. You know, a lot of people look at the software and they'll say, oh, I think that way, and kind of that radial view. In the desktop application, there's even more views. There's a top-down view. There's a left-right view to facilitate different ways individuals compute data or look at data. Well, I don't see any other questions coming through. Oh, wait, we got one more. Yeah, here's a couple more questions. So I want to put up on your screen. I'll make it bigger. Give me just a second here. Krista mentioned, let me see if I got that right. Yep. Krista mentioned email her if you're interested, or you can call the front desk and let them know that you would like the license. You can either email or call the front desk and ask for a license, and I'm assuming the front desk at the DRS if you're interested. So another question that came up, how do you change shapes and colors again? So good question. So what you can do is if you select, I'm going to close this for just a second. If you select a particular branch, you can go into the Format tab and you can change the different fill colors if you want. Also under the Design tab, you've got a bunch of different styles, colors, shapes, page colors. So Design and Format tab, excuse me, allow you to change the different shapes and colors of the branches. All right. Well, I'm going to sign out here. Again, I appreciate you guys taking your time, and definitely get a hold of me if you have any questions, or get a hold of Krista if you need a license. But thank you guys. Have a good one.